Damn YouTube comments. A few of them there may be.
Are you still moping around about how little feedback you're getting? Then why is the screen censored?
What do you think? And for the second point, I've heard it's not a very good idea to throw what few followers you have under the bus, so...
Well, why not try changing up your content a bit to see if that helps?
That's what the commenters suggested, among many other things. But, I don't know. What the heck would I even talk about in videos if not for Pokemon? Besides, it's not like your channel is doing any better either.
We can do the top 10 list or not.
Okay, let's get the camera ready. Hi guys, Ace here. Before we get started, I'd like to get some shoutouts out of the way. First of all, I'd like to thank Ao Tora, Bardown Snipe, Redeye, and Fabiano Harasjin for subscribing. I'd also like to thank Indigo League, Velikai Nyaz Zalatov, Turbo Pummel, The Crazy Green Gamer, Preston Newton, Tawasil 2008, Vaporeon Lover, Shattuck Metal, James Cronley, The Kaiser 94, Regal 99, Holy Guacamole, Trainer Bandit, John Smith, and Lego Thoron 1 for commenting on some of my videos. With that out of the way, let's address the big fat Don fan in the room. I haven't been very pleased with my lack of success on YouTube lately, if a couple of my previous videos are any indication of that. And now, I have a lot of questions I need to ask myself, one of which being, to review The Force Awakens, or not to review The Force Awakens? I know a lot of you have been trying to give me helpful suggestions, and many of those I have been taking into consideration, such as changing up my content a bit and investing in a better headset. The latter of which I am currently working on, by the way. Some of these suggestions, however, aren't very practical right now, like starting a new channel or doing movie reviews. The former because I already did so once, but when Google bought out YouTube, I was forced to create a new email address for it, which I forgot the password for and therefore can't access it. And the latter because, well, this. And for those of you who just click on my videos to hit the dislike button on them because I'm a nerd who has no life, why yes, going around disliking videos does make you have more of a life than people who actually create content on the internet. Well, internet trolls or no, this is where I'm at right now. Stuck at just a little bit over 150 subscribers, no idea where my channel is going to go from here, and with a whole bunch of interests that nobody else cares about. You know, after some deliberation, I think I'm going to dedicate this video to all the movies, TV shows, and video games that I enjoy yet other people seem to find atrocious. Although most of these will be movies, I'm going to try to spend some time talking about some TV shows and video games too. Also, the subjects on this list won't be in any particular order since the Nostalgia Critic already did a video like that and I don't want to rip them off too much. However, for your convenience, I will number them anyway. So without further ado, let's get to my 10 favorite things that everybody else hates. Number 10. Star Trek: The Motion Picture. I'm not trying to say it's a good movie. It's not. The acting is atrocious, the concepts in it are ridiculous, and even the actors had gripes about the costume designs. However, there are a few scenes in the movie that I can honestly say are some of my favorite moments from Trek, in particular the long flyby docking sequence of the refit Enterprise. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Ace, how could you possibly like that scene? It's the most boring part of the movie! Well, my reasons are a little hard to explain, but I'll do the best I can. Not many people know this, but the iconic theme music for Star Trek The Next Generation was actually first used in this movie, particularly this scene. The late Jerry Goldsmith was tasked to create a soundtrack for the movie that would rival John Williams' work on Star Wars, and yet still be its own thing. And boy did he deliver! The track begins with a light, almost whimsical melody as it approaches the dry dock, creating a sense of mystery and wonder. Then, as the shuttle turns around to face the Enterprise head-on, the music swells into an epic symphony that emphasizes the magnificence and beauty of the ship to both the audience and Captain Kirk. And being the nerd that I am, if that wasn't already obvious, this scene used to be my go-to self-motivation trick in elementary school and middle school. Whenever I was stressed out about something or bogged down by schoolwork, I would always listen to this track and imagine that I was a starship captain looking over my own ship, ready to take on whatever the final frontier could throw at me and boldly go where no one had gone before. Plus, without this movie, we would never have this awesome line. Spock! 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 Transmit now! I could have also mentioned how I think Star Trek Generations and Star Trek Voyager are highly underrated, but I think one Star Trek example is enough for one list. I may get to both of those examples in later videos. Number 9 and number 8. Spider-Man 3 and X-Men 3 The Last Stand. Yes, guys, I know I'm kind of cheating by grouping two subjects into one category, but I thought that these movies' situations were similar enough that they just couldn't be talked about separately. Much like the Nostalgia Critic said in his list, these two movies I think are highly underrated. Yes, I know there's the silly dance scenes and the characters acting out of character, but I think the good parts about the movies outweigh the bad. Both these movies have sort of a climactic feel to them, with X-Men The Last Stand focusing on the final battle between the X-Men, the Brotherhood, and the military. Plus, who couldn't love that scene of Magneto lifting the Golden Gate Bridge? And Peter Parker's falling from grace in Spider-Man 3 from the symbiote that turned him into black-suited Spider-Man, I think was in many ways a compelling and well-done story arc, dancing aside. Though I do wish they did more with the character Venom, the conflict between Spider-Man, Sandman, and Harry Osborn more than made up for that. Plus the fact that the Sandman wasn't a typical twirly mustache villain, but actually had a significant, reasonable backstory that you almost rooted for him. He didn't just want to kill Spider-Man or take over the world. All he wanted was to protect his daughter and get her enough money for surgery. Other than that, most of my points for liking these movies are the same as the Nostalgia Critic, so you can check out his video for that. Number 7. The Day After Tomorrow. Now, you may be wondering why I didn't put Independence Day or 2012 on this list. Well, that's because Independence Day is already popular enough as it is, and 2012, well, I think Roland Emmerich went too overboard even for me in that movie. But to me, The Day After Tomorrow has just the right amount of awesome silliness to get on this list. I mean, sure, you can make fun of how a dozen tornadoes suddenly start ripping apart Los Angeles, or that the characters have to run away from the weather. But to me, those are the scenes that make the movie so fun. It's not supposed to be taken seriously. It's just supposed to be enjoyed for what it is. It's like riding on a roller coaster. Do you do it to learn something or to challenge you on a deep philosophical level? No, you do it for mindless entertainment. That's what I think Roland Emmerich movies are to me. As stupid as it is that the characters are literally running away from the weather, I think it's stupid enough to be awesome in its stupidness. Plus, in the way many people thought that Roland Emmerich was actually trying to show an environmentalist message with this movie, I see it in a different light. In almost all of Roland Emmerich's movies, from Independence Day to Stargate to 2012 to this one, I think he's trying to capitalize on what's popular at the time and parody it to the point where it becomes ridiculous. For example, in the 90s, everyone was obsessed with aliens creating the pyramids, so boom, Stargate. In the early 2000s, we had the environmentalists and the global warming phenomenon. Boom, The Day After Tomorrow. And towards the turn of the decade, we had all those crazy rumors about the world being about to end in 2012. In this respect, I think if you don't try to take Roland Emmerich's movies seriously and just view them as mindless, dumb fun like I do, you may get a lot more enjoyment out of them. Number 6. Batman and Robin. Batman and Robin is widely considered not only one of the worst comic book movies ever made, but one of the worst movies ever made of all time as well. But is it really deserving of that title? I mean, yes, it's cheesy and dumb and full of Arnie puns, but lots of movies are like that and considered so bad they're good, like The Room. So why is this one suddenly different? Is it just because it's with Batman in it? Because personally, I find this movie almost as entertaining as movies like The Room or Commando, just because of how goofy and silly it is. I mean, who cares about the title character? It's a movie. And besides, it's quotable. Be honest, how many times have you quoted one of Arnold Schwarzenegger's ice puns in the past year? I just think the movie is too hilariously ridiculous for the hate that it gets. Number 5. The Matrix sequels. Like the previous entries on this list, I like these movies not for their intellectual value, but for their stupid, dumb awesomeness. They both have kick-ass fight scenes, and Hugo Weaving as Agent Smith is just awesome. Everything that comes out of that guy's mouth is instantly quotable. For example, I can quote him right now. Why, Mr. Anderson, why? Why? Why do you do it? Why get up? Why keep fighting? Do you believe you're fighting for something, for more than your survival? Can you tell me what it is? Do you even know? It's for truth or freedom, or perhaps peace could be for love. Illusions, Mr. Anderson, vagaries of perception. Temporary constructs of a feeble human intellect trying desperately to justify an existence without meaning or purpose. And all of which is artificial as the Matrix itself, although only a human mind could invent something as insipid as love. You must be able to see it, Mr. Anderson. You must know it by now. You can't win. It's pointless to keep fighting. Why, Mr. Anderson? Why? Why do you persist? And as much as people thought that the final battle between Neo and Agent Smith in the third movie was a step down from the second, I actually kind of liked it. I'd never watched Dragon Ball Z before, so I'd never actually seen this style of fighting on screen, and I thought it was quite awesome. I mean, sure, if I did watch Dragon Ball Z growing up, I might have thought this scene was silly, but since I didn't, the idea of two guys flying around and punching each other in midair, causing massive shockwaves in the rain all over the city, was just, well, awesome to me. Plus, the music that accompanied that fight was pretty awesome too. The second movie, Matrix Reloaded, had a lot of awesome moments in it too, some of the best in the entire franchise, like the highway chase and the battle with all the Smiths. And like I said, as stupid and silly as these scenes are, I still think they're, well, just awesome to look at. Number 4. Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines. As much as I think Terminator Genisys is an okay film that doesn't necessarily deserve all the hate it gets, unlike Terminator Salvation, I still think Terminator 3 slightly edges it out. Personally, I think the reason Terminator 3 didn't get all that good reviews is because it came after Terminator 2 Judgment Day, which is considered one of the best action movies of all time. And though obviously it doesn't live up to those standards, I still think Terminator 3 is a pretty entertaining film. It's action-packed, it's funny, and it has an awesome villain in the form of the TX, which is actually an anti-Terminator. I also like how they changed things up a bit by making the villain Terminator a female this time. If you can even call Terminators having genders. Plus, the TX ups the ante by not only having the shape-shifting abilities of the T-1000, but it also has built-in weapons, one of them being this plasma gun thing that, well, it's a plasma gun that I don't know what I can say about a plasma gun. Later it got broken and replaced with a flamethrower, but that's still pretty badass. On top of that, she can control other machines by just injecting her finger into it like a Borg drone. Add in some awesome quotable Arnold Schwarzenegger one-liners, and you have a entertaining movie, in my opinion. Again, unlike Terminator Salvation. Number 3, Sonic X Season 3. Now I can sort of see where people are coming from not liking this show, being that the first 2 seasons are kind of meh. But I would argue that the 3rd season is where things really start to pick up. Rather than taking place all on Earth with the heroes and a whiny little kid fighting Dr. Eggman, the 3rd season starts off with a Pokemon-esque looking alien crashing down on Mobius, soon to be followed by a giant robot who destroys the ecosystem of the planet. The rest of the season pretty much consists of the heroes traveling through space on a spaceship trying to stop the evil robots, aka the Medrex, from completely destroying the universe. As ridiculous as this concept may sound, I personally think they handled it very well, even including a bit of character development that would eventually spawn a million fanfics. And I must say, out of all the Sonic characters created, canon or not, Cosmo has to be my favorite. She's so sad and yet stoic, so timid and yet determined. All of this complemented perfectly by her tragic backstory. She makes you really do want her to have a happy ending. Number 2, Star Fox Assault. I honestly don't understand all the fan hate associated with this game. The common argument critics have about it is that the space shooting levels are good, but the third-person shooting levels suck. Personally, I disagree. I love being able to run around on foot and shoot things up with laser machine guns and bazookas. And really, I think the only reason people hate on this game is because since the original game, Star Fox 64, if you're not counting the one for the SNES, was just a space shooter. And that's what people wanted. And this is blinding them to the fact that the rest of the game is just as good if not better, in its own right. And I also loved how the villains, the Aperoids, were an homage to the Borg from Star Trek. And the final subject on my list of things I like but everybody else hates is the Star Wars prequels. I'm sure you must have all saw this one coming, what with how much I talk about it on this channel and how I hinted towards it in the intro. I don't know what it is about the Star Wars prequels, but I just love them. I honestly don't see why people hate them so much. I know they obviously have a lot of flaws, but a lot of those flaws apply to the original trilogy too. For example, the plausibility of a lightsaber duel on a planet entirely made of lava. Is that really any different than a battle on a planet made entirely of ice or sand or a gas giant? As far as the bad acting goes, well, I honestly didn't notice any of that because, well, I can't say I'd do much better myself. I mean, it's clear George Lucas wasn't very good at communicating with his actors, but that's no reason to think he's a monster. And despite the prequel's flaws, there's still, as the other items on this list, a lot of scenes that I enjoy watching, most of which are the lightsaber duels. And as I said before, a lightsaber duel over a waterfall of lava, or a lava fall, is one of the awesomest things I've ever seen in a film ever. And because of this, well, I just can't fault the prequels that much. And if you disagree, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. After all, film is subjective. Like the great Alec Guinness said,
Luke, you're going to find that many of the truths we cling to depend greatly on our own point of view.
well guys, that's my video for today. As always, if anyone would like to get a mention in my next video, hit that subscribe button or comment your thoughts down below. And be sure to let me know if you'd like me to review Star Wars The Force Awakens sometime this month. Now if you'll excuse me, I need to go do something incredibly nerdy.
So, what What are you doing now?
This sweater is getting a little ratty. I think it's time for a wardrobe change. This is what I'm talking about. It's a little tight, but I'll break it in.
Finally, my invention is complete! Following in the footsteps of atop the fourth wall, Dr. Link Sano, I, Dr. Weird Sano, have come up with a device that is totally not a phaser, that can bring toys to life! And for my first test, I shall give life to this Pokemon plushie!